Right now, live at 11.
Super Tuesday results are pouring in across the country and right here in North Carolina.
The celebration started early in Charlotte as Joe Biden was called the projected winner of the Democratic presidential primary in the state. We'll take you through all the results coming up county by county.
Tonight we are live in the state capitol at the Republican and Democratic watch parties still going on. And we are with each candidate as the race for the Senate and the governor's mansion shape up tonight. You're watching Eyewitness News live tonight at 11 o'clock. Now tonight, North Carolina, one of 14 states that is really now setting the stage for the rest of primary season. Thanks for joining us. I'm Scott Wickersham.
I'm Erica Bryant. We're bringing you live team coverage tonight, breaking down Biden's win in North Carolina, county by county. President Trump, of course, easily winning the Republican primary in North Carolina. We're following all the races that will impact you. We start with the Democratic presidential primary.
Yeah, tonight, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders both had good nights. Sources tell the AP that Mike Bloomberg will decide tomorrow whether or not he should actually stay in this race. Here in North Carolina, the latest numbers you can see Joe Biden, winning with 41%, 84% of the precincts reporting there. Bernie Sanders getting 24% in North Carolina. Anchor Blaine Tollison is in the studio with us tonight. And Blaine, Biden won, you say, in almost every county in the state?
Yeah, in just about every state in the Southeast. We just got some breaking news. My producer telling me in my ear just now that Bernie Sanders has won the state of California. That's more than 400 delegates there. That was the largest prize of delegates out of all the Super Tuesday states. Well, that'll definitely give him some momentum and maybe some hope to stay in this race because Joe Biden won big, especially in the Southeast in North Carolina. I don't think there was a county except for Gaston County that was less than 40% of the vote. Here in Mecklenburg County, 42% of the vote, but we've seen 50% of the vote in some counties in our area, 60% of the vote. Now look at this, Boone. You have App State here. This is interesting. A lot of young voters there. Bernie Sanders, 46% of the vote there in Watauga County. Joe Biden a distant second and 23%. Mike Bloomberg, one county in all of North Carolina right now, just barely edging out Joe Biden in Yadkin County, 25% for Bloomberg, 23% for Joe Biden. But that is a big win for Bernie Sanders in California. We're going to be updating that as well as the other states we're waiting on, Texas as well. Back to you guys.
Yeah, and we were at Joe Biden's watch party in South Charlotte earlier tonight where the mood was certainly happy early on. Our cameras were there the moment that they learned shortly after polls closed that they were calling the vice president's win in North Carolina. Of course, we are monitoring results from other Super Tuesday states now. Biden has won Alabama, Arkansas, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Virginia.
While Sanders took Colorado, his home state of Vermont, Utah, and again, we are hearing that he has won in California. Here is where the delegate counts stand right now. Again, this has not factored in California in these numbers you see on your screen. 160 for Biden in this, 118 Sanders in this particular count here. We'll get those updated for you shortly.
Of course, on the Republican side, President Donald Trump won North Carolina's primary easily as expected. He is expected to accept the nomination here in Charlotte during the RNC coming up in August. Another big race we're looking at tonight, the race for U.S. Senate.
In the race for North Carolina, Cal Cunningham beat out State Senator Erica Smith for the Democratic nomination. Cunningham will then take on the projected Republican nominee and incumbent Senator Thom Tillis.
Our government reporter Joe Bruno is live in Raleigh tonight with Cunningham's campaign. Joe?
The last time Cal Cunningham ran for Senate, he earned all the major endorses, yet was handed a surprising defeat. 10 years later, he is now at the top of the ticket as the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate. Cunningham is a veteran and a former state senator. He was the preferred candidate of Washington Democrats, earning a DSCC endorsement and the support of numerous outside groups who pumped millions into his campaign. Cunningham is moderate. He voted for Pete Buttigieg in the primary and is opposed to Medicare for all. His campaign says Cunningham will prioritize expanding Obamacare, investing in education, and taking on corruption. He says if President Trump is reelected, he'll work with him on common issues and stand up to him when needed. He reiterated his commitment to serving all North Carolinians in his acceptance speech tonight.
Growing up in Lexington, we did not check voter registration cards before we took care of our neighbors. We believe in service and in hard work and in fighting for justice.
Cunningham has his work cut out for him. Incumbent Senator Thom Tillis has 3 times as much cash on hand as Cunningham has right now. He had to spend a lot to get through this primary. He defeated State Senator Erica Smith. My colleague, Eyewitness News reporter Tina Terry, is with the Smith campaign tonight. Tina?
Yeah, disappointing night for Erica Smith and her supporters here. She took the stage about an hour and a half ago, and she did tell me she believes that interference from national Republicans and Democrats put her in this position. Early on, a Republican-linked group paid millions to air ads touting Erica's progressive positions. She says she didn't ask for these ads, and they forced her to defend herself to voters who suspected that she was somehow involved with the Republican Party. Also, early on, she says national Democrats threw their support behind Cal Cunningham. And she says that decision was unfair and made it difficult for her to compete. Here is what she said to her supporters when she took that stage.
I want to congratulate Cal Cunningham for running a fierce race and congratulating him on earning the nomination, the Democratic nomination in the U.S. Senate. I know that tomorrow he will be public enemy #1 and not me.
And she encouraged all of her supporters to get behind Cal Cunningham to help him win the race during that general election. Back to you at the desk, guys.
All right, Tina, thank you for that update from her camp there. Now, former Mecklenburg County Commissioner Trevor Fuller was also running in that Senate race. That means his at-large seat on commission will be replaced. The top 3 vote getters for Mecklenburg County Board of Commissions will get a seat. The 2 other incumbents, Ella Scarborough and Pat Cotham, are in the lead right now. The race for Fuller's seat, that 3rd seat, is still close right now. In the 12th Congressional District, Alma Adams easily defeating her Democratic primary challenger. She spoke earlier tonight from a watch party in South Charlotte.
I'm delighted to have another opportunity to continue my service to the people of the 12th District here in Charlotte, Mecklenburg. It's a great community. We've done a lot of good work. There's a lot of work left to do. I appreciate the support from the citizens here.
Channel 9 is your source for your Super Tuesday updates. Our live team coverage will continue throughout the next half hour, including live reports from each nominee in the governor's race.
We got some new information now about North Carolina's first case of coronavirus. We are now hearing that the patient, a man, actually traveled through Raleigh-Durham Airport. A passenger passing through on February 22nd was not experiencing any symptoms while traveling. And the airport said, based on CDC guidance, there was no identifiable risk from this case to any other travelers. We also know, as we said earlier today, that man visited a healthcare facility in Washington State where several people have had coronavirus and several have died. And new tonight, our Glenn Counts spoke to health officials who say at some point they expect Charlotte to see its own case.
Well, Atrium officials say that although this case is in Raleigh, they say that sooner or later they know that Charlotte is going to get hit, and when that happens, they will be ready. It was the news that health experts knew we would eventually hear in this state.
And today, we have confirmed our first presumptive positive results.
The coronavirus patient is a man who lives in Wake County and was exposed in Washington State at the same skilled nursing facility where there is an outbreak that has claimed 5 lives.
Local health department officials are working to identify who else may have been exposed to help contain the spreading.
This afternoon, officials at Atrium, Maine told the media that they expect the virus to ultimately come to the Charlotte area.
A lot of it's what we do every flu season.
Dr. Catherine Passaretti is the medical director of infection prevention at Atrium Health. She says no one should panic over the new virus and that people can protect themselves by frequent hand washing, staying 3 to 6 feet away from folks who are sick, and giving up handshakes, at least for now. She also encouraged folks with flu-like symptoms to stay away from the elderly and avoid hospitals and waiting rooms if possible.
virtual care or e-visits are great opportunities to get good medical care without having to wait in waiting rooms.
Well, Dr. Passaretti says that the hospital is ready if they get a surge of patients with flu-like symptoms. She also says that, these new viruses always come and go, and you have to always be prepared. Back to you guys.
Our Glenn Counts live tonight. Thank you, Glenn.
Devastating images continuing to come in out of Tennessee tonight, where homes are destroyed, businesses severely damaged, families trying to put the pieces of their lives back together, and many, many lives lost after those tornadoes ripped through Nashville and other parts of the state. We learned at least 24 people died in the storm in Nashville area. That number could go up since crews are still there looking for people through the wreckage, through the damage. President Trump is planning to visit Tennessee this Friday. And meantime, people from our community are rushing there to help the people who live there. We've learned more than 100 volunteers from Samaritan's Purse packed into two 18-wheelers. They have it full of supplies to go help out. The volunteers say they might be in Tennessee for weeks or possibly up to a month or more.
Right now, fog becoming an issue across Charlotte. You can't make out any of the Charlotte skyline anymore. We'll be mapping out when we can finally get a little more brighter weather back into the Queen City.
And our Super Tuesday election coverage continues. Ahead, we are live where candidates from both parties in the race for North Carolina's governor watch the results come in. We are back, continuing to stay on top of your Super Tuesday election results tonight. Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders have both had big nights, getting wins in several states.
But tonight, I tell you with absolute confidence, we are going to win the Democratic nomination. And we are going to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of this country.
We want a nominee who will beat Donald Trump, but also keep Nancy Pelosi the Speaker of the House. Win back the United States Senate. If that's what you want, join us.
Elizabeth Warren and Mike Bloomberg both had disappointing nights tonight. Sources telling the AP that Mike Bloomberg and his camp saying that they will reevaluate tomorrow and then make a decision about whether his campaign will continue, whether he will stay in the race. And we're also following North Carolina's race for governor tonight. Governor Roy Cooper accepting the Democratic nomination just about an hour ago.
Let's take a look at the numbers. It was not really close. Roy Cooper, current governor, getting 87% to the vote, with 94% of the vote precincts coming in. Our government reporter Joe Bruno is live tonight at Cooper's campaign, and for a long time ago he was able to come out and accept that nomination with a landslide victory. Joe.
Governor Roy Cooper will take on his Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest for the governor's race in November. It will be an expensive and competitive race. Governor Cooper will enter the race with 13 times more cash than Dan Forest. The race will largely be about Medicaid expansion. In remarks to supporters tonight, the governor reiterated his commitment to pushing for North Carolina to join 37 other states in expanding health care coverage. He also said he won't be satisfied until teachers and other educators get pay raises they deserve. One of the main reasons Cooper was able to pull off a 10,000 vote victory in 2016 was HB 2. Cooper helped repeal the law. Forest was one of its major supporters. Tonight, Cooper said he's fired up for the race ahead.
It is the most important election of our lifetime. From the courthouse to the State House to the White House.
If you've paid attention to North Carolina politics in recent years, you know that this is a race Dan Forest has really been preparing for a long time. Let's go now to my colleague, Eyewitness News anchor Genevieve Curtis, who is with the Forest campaign tonight. Genevieve.
Actually, I'll pick it up from there, Joe. Thanks. Live tonight in Raleigh.
Now, come November, Cooper will be facing the current Republican Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest. We do now want to check in with anchor Genevieve Curtis, who was there with the Forest campaign in Durham, and they cleared out a little bit earlier tonight, mostly, right, Genevieve?
Yeah, Erica, Dan Forest spoke around 9 p.m. tonight to a very excited room. They've all about cleared out now after such a decisive victory, but not too surprising as Forest was favored in this race. But speaking tonight and looking forward to November, Dan Forest says he believes that this governor's race will be the #1 governor's race in the country. He also said he didn't expect to win with 90% of the vote. He said he wasn't expecting that big of a win. Very surprising tonight. He was also considered a rising star in the Republican Party, but he emphasized that they are going to have to work for November. Forrest calls it doing it the old-fashioned way. He says they're going to be taking this to a grassroots campaign, something he said he has always done, traveling county to county and really getting out there to meet with voters and speak to the community. He talked about his 3 values of his campaign as they move forward.
We base it on 3 things: unity, opportunity, and possibility. And unity is just about bringing people together. Now, we obviously live in a very divisive time politically right now, and we believe it's time to pull all North Carolinians together.
And I also reached out to Representative Holly Grange's campaign earlier tonight. They told us they would be sending a statement to us at some point. We are still waiting on that statement. Erica, Scott.
All right, Genevieve, thank you for that update. You can see all the results from all of the major local races. We've got that on our WSOC TV News app.
Well, the weather got better for voters. Better to be in line late
After
today
work,
as
yeah.
opposed to this morning when it just absolutely poured out there.
Yeah, meteorologist John Aaron says we do have a bit of wet weather returning, right?
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect tomorrow at all. We do have the rainfall out of here, Erica and Scott. However, the moisture is still around and it's causing a little bit of a fog problem. We haven't gone to black here. This is a live look outside. This is uptown Charlotte, sort of, completely covered in that low cloud cover. You see some of the street lights, but even a little while ago, you saw a little brighter look here, especially along the streets. Now even that's starting to be taken over with that thick fog. So I think we're going to have at least a murky drive into work. It won't be wet per se, but you might need those headlights on, certainly keep them on low beam and just take it easy out on the roads tomorrow morning. We'll start out the temperature right around 46 degrees. And after that, it'll be kind of depending on where you live as far as this forecast goes, because we're going to have a frontal system that stays down to our south, really impacts areas south of Charlotte. But if you live like up in, let's say Huntersville, or let's go to Lincolnton, Denver, you're not going to have many things to worry about at all tomorrow. So let's go neighborhood by neighborhood. If you're going through Weddington or Waxhaw or down and through Indian Trail, mostly cloudy skies, and I would go ahead and bring the rain gear. You probably will not need it early on in the morning, but by the afternoon, some spotty showers. Won't be too terribly heavy, but it'll be rainy again across Weddington. Download the WSOC weather app. You can track that right on your phone. North side, Davidson, pretty smooth. Not perfect, not great, but better than it'll be in Weddington at least. Mostly cloudy skies, maybe a few hints of sunshine here and there, but really down to the south, that's where the thicker cloud cover will be. So we'll be tracking those showers mainly south, and it looks like that's going to stay the case in through Thursday. Best news here, no severe weather, nothing like that. It's just rainy and kind of gloomy kind of stuff. And the very best news, this is all out of here by Friday, maybe sooner. Some computer models are saying, no, we're done Thursday night. We'll see. But Friday, definitely great in through the weekend. I think this is going to top last weekend, which topped the weekend before. We're on an upward trend. Think about that when you wake up tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Looking on the bright side.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Tomorrow's hump day. We're getting closer.
Yes.
Well, ahead, cameras are tracking drivers along the I-77 toll lanes. They could catch some of those who are not following the law. We'll tell you the ongoing problem that troopers hope the cameras will help to solve. We're monitoring the election results coming in tonight, and at this hour, 11:23 our time, we want to take you to live pictures out in California where the polls closed at 8 o'clock their time tonight, and you can see people are still standing in line waiting to cast their votes. The Associated Press has projected, though, that Bernie Sanders will be the winner there on the West Coast in California. But of course, we will wait to see the final numbers, as again, people still have not gotten their chance to vote.
Firefighters say that a candle started an apartment fire in East Charlotte tonight. It started around 8 on Dunlaven Way and Eastway Drive. They say that 2 adults and 3 kids were inside, but nobody's seriously hurt, and they're staying with family members. The fire caused about $6,000 in damage. Maybe you saw these new white signs along the toll lanes on I-77 warning you about some cameras being put in to enforce traffic laws.
The cameras are going to be used to try to catch drivers who flip on their HOV transponder when they are not actually carpooling. I-77 Mobility Partners says this technology will actually take a picture of your car and it can determine how many people are inside the vehicle. The images will then be compared to the setting on the car's transponder to see if you are in fact carpooling and if you should be in the HOV lane. Drivers will also be able to use the photos to dispute the charges.
I think it's a good option as long as it's reasonably easy to do that.
I think there's always going to be issues with cameras and how clear the cameras are and whether there was a third person or not a third person. I think the cost to monitor that could be quite expensive.
Now, those cameras are still being installed, and I-77 Mobility Partners says those cameras will be tested before they're officially rolled out.
A man could get life in prison for charges from a carjacking that ended in a police chase and a crash in Matthews. We showed you where the Jeep crashed on its side near the Harrisburg Road exit ramp on I-485 in June. Police say Jordan Beener and Jordan Williams stole the Jeep at gunpoint from a man at the University Village Apartments and took off. Today, Williams pleaded guilty to his role in that crime in federal court. All night long, we've been updating you on the results here on Super Tuesday in the North Carolina primary. Let's recap again where things stand in all the big races tonight.
First, let's take a look in the race for U.S. Senate, the Democratic primary. Cal Cunningham wins with 57% of the vote in North Carolina over Erica Smith and Trevor Fuller. This is with 95% of precincts reporting, so pretty much a done deal there. And then in the Republican side, the race for governor here, Dan Forrest is at 89%, beating his challenger, Holly Grange, with 94% of precincts reporting in that race. And then on the Democratic side of the governor's race, of course, Roy Cooper wins with 87% of the vote, again with 94% of the precincts reporting. So those two will face off in November.
And the Democratic primary for President, Joe Biden winning North Carolina, 43% of the vote. And Biden has won Alabama, Arkansas, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Virginia. Sanders took Colorado, his home state of Vermont, and AP saying he took California and Utah. And of course, President Trump winning easily here in North Carolina in the Republican primary. Let's check back in with anchor Blaine Tollison in just a few minutes, and he will break down the results tonight.
Good evening.
North Carolina taking part in Super Tuesday and people winning big here.
Yeah, this really put the Tar Heel State in the national stage for the 2020 presidential election this year. For the Democratic presidential primary, again, Joe Biden, the winner in North Carolina, now at 43% of the vote. Anchor Blaine Tollison is here to show us, though, how Super Tuesday was shaking out now that the polls have closed from coast to coast.
Yeah, and what you saw there, that 43% for North Carolina, most of our local counties showed that as well. There are very few under 40%. Anson County even had 62% for Joe Biden here. Elizabeth Warren in fourth or even lower in a lot of our counties overall in fourth. An update from her camp. She says she is going to stay in it to try to win this thing still. Real quick, I want to look at Texas. If you take a look here, there's a battle going on. Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, 28% each. We'll keep you updated on this with all the results as they come in. We'll be right back.
It's pretty murky outside, even though we don't have
fog
rainfall.
kicking up, huh?
Yeah, the fog's going to be out there for tomorrow morning's drive, so be careful. And then down to the south especially, you're going to see some wet weather. Up to the north, Mooresville, Lake Norman area, it'll be better.
All right, thanks for watching tonight. Jimmy Kimmel is next.
And make sure to start your day with Eyewitness News. Our team starts at 4:30 a.m. Have the latest updates on your Super Tuesday results.